Chapter 645. Fireworks. At this moment, outside the Black Phoenix Club, several cars stopped in front of the deserted storefront. Mr. Jing got out of the car with 8 or 9 members of the Hanchuan family, looking up at the club shrouded in darkness, his brow slightly furrowed. "Mr. Jing, this is the place," one of the Hanchuan family members beside him said. "It said that 2 young men and a little girl came here a couple of days ago. They were all unfamiliar faces. The 2 young men have recently become popular hosts, and the little girl is about 12 or 13, working as a waitress here." 2 young men, 1 little girl, Mr. Jing pondered. If one is Yuzuriha Heijia's daughter and the other is Asanagi Nanaya, then who is the third? "We're not sure, but we searched all over Dotonbori and this place is the most suspicious." "What about the owner of this shop?" "Unknown." "Unknown. Yes, that's one of the suspicious aspects of this place," he said helplessly. "We've checked all the records and can't find any information about the owner, except for his nickname Kayasuk. The original owner of this storefront has also disappeared, and no one knows how he came to be here." "What about the renovation team? A place this big must have hired one, right? And what about the purchase records for the furniture inside? Didn't they leave any names?" "No. We can't find any renovation records here, nor any purchase records. It's as if..." The gang member paused. "It's as if this place appeared overnight like a haunted house. It said that the night before this club opened, it was still an empty shell, and by the next morning the club was already built." Mr. Jing's brow furrowed tightly. "So strange. How long has this place been in operation?" "Half a year." Mr. Jing carefully examined the unremarkable storefront, lost in thought. "Mr. Jing, the young master sent us to find those 2 people, but they're not here now." "What should we do?" a member of the Hanchuan family asked. "Should we come back tomorrow?" "No, tomorrow will be too late." Mr. Jing shook his head, recalling Hanchuan Shi's instructions, a fierce look flashing in his eyes. "Smash the doors and windows. We'll search the place. If they're really hiding here, they must have left some traces. What if we can't find anything? Then we'll send someone to watch the area. As soon as they return, notify me immediately. We'll come and capture the owner to ask him some questions and we'll know everything." "Understood." Brilliant fireworks burst in the night sky, like a dazzling curtain of light, reflecting on the faces of all who gazed up at them. This year's fireworks festival in Osaka could be said to be the most grandiose, both in scale and in the quality of the fireworks, unprecedented in its splendor. Even standing on the edge of the city, one could clearly see the breathtaking sky. Lin Chia and Amamiya Haruki stood by the river in floral yukatas, holding a red umbrella, enjoying the fireworks festival. Everyone around them was watching the fireworks, lost in the beauty of the display. "Actually, these fireworks are quite beautiful," Lin Chia couldn't help but say. Amamiya Haruki nodded slightly. "Even though this country has decayed, its culture still possesses a unique charm. However, these are ultimately just a beautiful facade. Once this facade is torn away, revealing the core of divine authority, everything will be different." "Have you seen what it looks like when this facade is torn away?" "I have." Amamiya Haruki fell silent for a moment. "It's ugly, disgusting, and infuriating." The 2 held the umbrella, quietly watching the fireworks. Unlike the surrounding spectators who were all smiles, their eyes held no joy, only deep pity and sorrow. "Are these fireworks too big?" Yuzuriha Rina held a skewer of grilled meat, struggling to look up at the fireworks festival amidst the crowded crowd. Even so, her small face was filled with astonishment. Uncle Kayasuk smiled slightly and lifted her onto his back. "Right? It's spectacular, isn't it?" Rina suddenly found herself on Uncle Kayasuk's back, feeling a bit shy at first, but she was soon captivated by the magnificent fireworks above her mouth. "Agape. Little Yuzuriha," Uncle Kayasuk suddenly spoke. Are you happy today?" "Very happy." Rina looked up at the fireworks, smiling as she said, "I've been very happy since coming here with Brother Nanaya." "Why is that?" Rina thought for a moment. "Because the atmosphere at the club is great. Uncle and Brother Jean take good care of me and Brother Nanaya too. I've always liked the host profession, so having the chance to work here is something that makes me really happy." "You really like being a host?" Yeah, because my mom really likes it, so I gradually came to like it too. Uncle Kayasuk was silent for a moment. But you have to work here every day. Isn't it tiring? Although it is indeed tiring, it's fulfilling and reassuring. Compared to the time I spent hiding from thugs in a shipping container, this place is simply paradise. Rena happily spread her arms, as if wanting to embrace the dazzling sky filled with fireworks. Uncle Kayasuk looked at her youthful face, standing still like a statue. After a long while he smiled and asked, "Do you want to stay here forever?" "I do." Rena paused, "But I can't. Grandma Tsuru is still waiting for me to return to Yokohama. I can't stay here too long, or she'll be lonely by herself. Maybe you could bring her over?" Rena was taken aback, thinking carefully, her eyes suddenly brightening. "That would be the best. But Uncle Kayasuk, would you agree?" I agree." When Rena heard this, her excited smile blossomed like a flower. She turned and gave Uncle Kayasuk's bearded cheek a hearty kiss. "Thank you, Uncle Kayasuk. You're the best." She squinted her eyes in delight. Uncle Kayasuk stood there stunned. He didn't know how long it had been before he came back to his senses, a smile uncontrollably appearing at the corners of his mouth. The fireworks festival reached its final explosion, countless fireworks shooting into the sky, blooming in the darkness with their own light, dispelling the gloom and darkness, bringing a brief yet glorious display to the world. The fireworks faded. The sky fell back into a dark silence. Uncle Kayasuk carried Rena on his back, standing still among the crowd that was bustling to leave. "Uncle Kayasuk, the fireworks are over. We should go back," Rena reminded him. Uncle Kayasuk glanced at the dark sky. "It's time to go back." Chapter 646. Annihilate the Family. Due to the festival, the foot traffic in Dotonbori tonight is significantly less than usual. 3 handsome young men dressed in floral yukatas, along with an uncle holding a little girl's hand, leisurely walk towards the Black Polonia Club. Lin Chia, Xiaojin, and Amamiya Haruki each hold a skewer of grilled meat, eating as they walk. As Uncle Jingjie puts it, this is a small reward for their good promotional efforts tonight. While eating the skewers, Lin Chia's heart softened a bit. He decided that when he put Uncle Jingjie in a sack tonight, he would choose a festive bright red one. "Brother Chia, Uncle Jingjie agreed to let me bring Grandma Tsuru over, and we can stay at the club together from now on." Yuzuna excitedly ran to Lin Chia's side and said, Lin Chia raised his eyebrows slightly, seemingly surprised. "Bringing Grandma Tsuru over?" Lin Chia looked at Uncle Jingjie, who was walking at the back, a hint of confusion in his eyes. A normal boss would want their employees to work hard and wouldn't stop until they had squeezed out all their value. However, Uncle Jingjie's actions left him puzzled. Hiring Yuzuna was already beyond Lin Chia's expectations. After all, she was just a 12 or 13-year-old girl. Although she was diligent, there were certainly things she couldn't do as well as a regular waitress. Yet he still chose to hire Yuzuna and gave her a generous salary. If this was to retain Lin Chia, the rising star of the host world, it could be understood. But now, his willingness to bring Grandma Tsuru over completely exceeded Lin Chia's understanding. Bringing a 70-year-old grandmother to a host club? Isn't that just adding a burden for himself? That's right. Uncle Jingjie is so nice. Yuzuna beamed. "From now on we can always be together." Lin Chia looked at Yuzuna's smile, feeling a bit complicated. The Yuzuna he knew had always been a little adult, mature to the point of being heart-wrenching. This was the first time he saw a pure smile belonging to a 12 or 13-year-old girl on her face. But he didn't respond because he knew very well that he couldn't stay here for long. However, if Yuzuna could stay here and live happily, that didn't seem too bad. Yuzuna skipped ahead, the light pink cherry blossom hairpin casting a faint glow under the neon lights. A few strands of hair dancing in the air as she smiled like a flower. The other 4 followed behind her, each wearing a subtle smile. As Yuzuna turned the corner and was about to enter the club, she suddenly froze in place. She stared blankly ahead, where the street that should have been brightly lit was now completely dark. "Why aren't we moving?" Xiaojin asked in confusion. He turned the corner and was equally stunned by the sight before him. At the end of the dark street, the ground was littered with shattered glass, reflecting the hazy moonlight, resembling a carpet of broken silver. The club's doors and windows had all been smashed to pieces, and the high-end neon sign had fallen to the ground, its letters crooked. Occasionally, a few sparks erupted from the neon tubes, illuminating a corner of the dark street. Inside the club, the front desk had been smashed, and the cabinets filled with expensive drinks had been emptied. Dozens of bottles lay shattered on the ground, their contents forming a lake that slowly flowed, soaking the overturned tables and chairs. The Black Polonia Club was in complete disarray. "What is this?" Lin Chia's brows furrowed tightly. Amamiya Haruki narrowed his eyes slightly, turning to exchange a glance with Lin Chia, both already having their suspicions. Such vandalism could only be the work of the underworld, but it definitely wasn't the Black Killers. So the identity of those responsible was becoming clear. "Ah, you finally came back." A woman from the izakaya next door hurriedly ran out and said to the group, "2 hours ago I saw that gang causing trouble in Dotonbori. They came over here without saying a word and smashed the door as if they were looking for something, making a complete mess inside. You should call the police." Yuzuna stood at the dimly lit, chaotic entrance of the club, staring blankly at the scene that looked like a garbage dump. Her body trembled uncontrollably, her lips tightly pressed together, and her eyes were slightly red. "Why?" she murmured, her voice tinged with a hint of tears. "Why do those people keep chasing me? I clearly did nothing wrong. Why are they doing this? I finally found a little place that belongs to me in this world. Why?" Yuzuna stood there, feeling as if her heart was shattering into pieces. Just seconds ago she had been dreaming of a beautiful future living here, and now reality had crushed all her hopes and fantasies. She stood in the darkness, tears streaming down her face, like a child who had lost everything. At that moment, a figure slowly approached her from behind. Uncle Jingjie placed his hand on her shoulder, looking at the wreckage of the Black Polonia Club. His eyes were like a deep lake in winter, eerily calm. "It's not your fault, little Yuzuna," he gently comforted. Yuzuna turned around, her tear-streaked eyes looking at Uncle Jingjie with a sense of grievance. She opened her arms and hugged his waist tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm sorry, Uncle Jingjie, it's all because of me. Because of me they made this place like this, it's all because of me. I'm sorry." Uncle Jingjie gently stroked her head. The calmness in his eyes could no longer contain the simmering rage, like a volcano in the deep sea about to erupt. "Let's step outside for a moment." Lin Chia took a deep breath, shifting his gaze away from Yuzuna, trying to suppress the anger within him, and said calmly. A chilling, killing intent surfaced in his eyes. Amamiya Haruki silently turned around and walked alongside Lin Chia, gradually disappearing at the end of the street. Once they reached the deserted neon-lit street, Amamiya Haruki slowly pulled out a deep blue long knife from the folded red umbrella, strapping it to his waist, his left hand gently resting on the hilt. Drip. A drop of rain fell from the sky. 2 red umbrellas opened. The rain poured down. The rainwater drenched the surfaces of the 2 red umbrellas, flowing down at an angle onto the asphalt road. This sudden downpour turned the surrounding pedestrians into drenched chickens. They exclaimed and rushed to take shelter under nearby eaves, anxiously looking up at the night sky. On such a clear night no one expected it to rain, so they hadn't brought umbrellas. But some had brought umbrellas. And they also brought knives. In the rain curtain, 2 young men in floral yukatas held red umbrellas, walking calmly down the hazy neon street, their figures gradually fading away. A faint voice echoed through the rain. "Destroy the Hanchuan family." Chapter 647. Prophecy. It's raining. Under the Black Kill Group building, more than 30 black sedans and 7 or 8 vans were quietly parked, each filled with fully armed members of the Black Kill Group. Akanasuk Ken stood beneath the car, looking at the raindrops falling from the sky, somewhat surprised as he spoke. "Such nice weather, and it's actually raining?" In the back seat, Shin Qingzhu glanced at the sky, squinting slightly, and gently flicked the burning cigarette out of the window, which then rolled up automatically. "Let's go," he said. "Yes." Akanasuk Ken immediately got into the car, connecting all the vehicles through the intercom, and shouted loudly. "Let's move out." Boom. More than 40 engines roared to life simultaneously, bright beams of headlights lit up, and the vehicles tore through the pitch-black night, roaring away in the rain like wild beasts. The rain was the signal agreed upon by Lin Chia and Shin Qingzhu. Hiking Tong Club. Uncle Jingjie held the crying Yuzuriha, his eyes faintly glancing at the darkness in the corner. He gently patted Yuzuriha's head and smiled, saying, "Little Yuzuriha, the club is a bit messy and Uncle needs to tidy it up. Can you go with little Jean to help Uncle buy some glue and cleaning supplies?" Yuzuriha looked up, her eyes red, and asked, "Can it really be fixed?" "Of course." "Then okay." Yuzuriha released Uncle Jingjie, who gave little Jean a look. Little Jean took Yuzuriha's hand and slowly walked away. In the empty street, Uncle Jingjie stood at the dark club entrance for a long time before lifting his foot and slowly walking inside. Time passed second by second. About 5 minutes after Yuzuriha and little Jean left, several cars drove into the street. Mr. Jing, accompanied by a dozen subordinates from the Hanchuan family, quickly got out of the cars, slamming the doors shut as they approached. "Are you sure? They're back?" Mr. Jing asked. "Absolutely, our people have been watching here." "Have you seen the target?" "Yes, the descendant of Yuzuri Hakai is indeed here, no doubt about it." "What about Aoyama Chiya?" "The person keeping watch said they just returned and Aoyama Chiya left with someone else, but we don't know where they went. This shop should be unguarded now." "Good." A glint of excitement flashed in Mr. Jing's eyes. He turned to his subordinates behind him and said, "Get your gear ready, we're going to catch someone." A dozen people, armed with their respective weapons, rushed to the entrance of Hiking Tong Club. As soon as they stepped inside, they froze in place. In the dark, chaotic dining area, tables and chairs were piled haphazardly together, resembling a small mountain. The overhead light flickered on and off, occasionally sparking and illuminating the dark restaurant for a moment. Atop that small mountain sat a middle-aged man, quietly observing. A wilting red rose was tucked into the pocket of his flashy sequined suit. The flickering light cast his shadow against the pale wall behind him, resembling a demon standing atop a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. He quietly stared at the dozen intruders, his eyes narrowing slightly. In the darkness, his cold gaze seemed to harbor the fury of a raging lion. In the rain, a sudden, urgent ringtone pierced the air. Yumegami Hirai was taken aback. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone and answered it. "Hello. Yumegami. I won the game today. I predicted a shocking secret." Hashimi Shuda's excited voice came from the other end of the line. Yumegami Hirai raised an eyebrow. "If what you predicted is the location of the Hanchuan family, we've already found it." "Not that." Hashimi Shoyuda took a deep breath and spoke deliberately. "Today what I predicted was, Yuzuri Hakai breaks through and once again attacks the Pure Land." "What did you say?" Yumegami Hirai stood frozen. "Right. Surprising, isn't it? If this prediction is correct, then the previous prediction of Yuzuri Hakai's death was wrong. Perhaps he never died at all." Hashimi Shoyuda became increasingly excited. "I understand." Yumegami Hirai took a deep breath, calming his disturbed emotions. "I have something to deal with now. I'll call you back once I'm done." With that he hung up the phone. "What's wrong?" Lin Chia asked. "The unreliable prophet said, Yuzuri Hakai will break through and once again attack the Pure Land." "Yuzuri Hakai?" Lin Chia frowned. "Wasn't he dead?" "Now it seems perhaps not." Yumegami Hirai continued walking. "When I first heard about his death, I was somewhat skeptical. How could someone who single-handedly fought his way to the Pure Land with 3 knives be so easily killed by a divine oracle? To confirm this thought, I specifically had the prophet verify this matter again. The result was still affirmative, so since then I've believed he was truly dead." "So, you're saying his last prediction was just the wrong 50%? "Exactly. Perhaps his current prediction is also wrong?" "Yeah. But at least he has given us this possibility, opening up another line of thought. If Yuzuri Hakai isn't dead but as the prophecy says he's laying a trap, then what exactly is this trap, and what is his purpose in setting it?" As the two pondered, they had already arrived at the edge of the former Ghost Fire Society's territory. They looked up at the nightclub radiating neon lights in the night sky, their eyes narrowing slightly. "We'll discuss Yuzuri Hakai's matter later. For now, let's handle what's in front of us. Shin Qingju's people should be arriving soon." Boom. On the other side of the street, more than 30 cars sped past. The roaring sound of the vehicles in the deep night had already attracted the attention of the Hanchuan family members inside the nightclub. They quickly mobilized their forces and rushed toward that street. More than 20 cars drove out of the nightclub's parking lot, speeding onto the street and completely blocking the road, sealing off the Black Kill Group's escape route. There are quite a few people. Inside the car, Akanasuk Ken squinted at the dazzling headlights ahead, frowning slightly. He picked up the intercom and said, "Stop the car, get out." The more than 40 vehicles of the Black Kill Group stopped in front of the Honchuan family's car wall, the bright headlights illuminating the entire road like daylight. The heavy sound of car doors slamming echoed as one by one, the members of the Black Kill Group dressed in black got out, weapons in hand, coldly approaching the opposing vehicles. The Honchuan family members also got out of their cars, and the two groups stood facing each other in the brightly lit open space. Chapter 648. Mounted Missiles. Bang! A crisp sound of a door closing echoed as a figure draped in a flowing cloud-patterned cloak leisurely stepped down from the car, lowered his head to light a cigarette and slowly walked forward. The nearly 300 members of the Black Kill Group in front of the car parted to the side simultaneously, clearing a path for him. Upon seeing the flowing cloak, the members of the Honchuan family seemed to recall something, their eyes filled with shock. He's the legendary underworld myth, the leader of the Kansai Black Kill Group. He actually came in person. Shin Qingzhu, cigarette in mouth, walked up to the members of the Black Kill Group. The countless glaring headlights behind him outlined his figure with a golden edge. Due to the backlight, the Honchuan family members couldn't see his face clearly, but those cold and authoritative eyes were like torches in the darkness, deeply imprinted in everyone's hearts. A cadre from the Honchuan family steadied himself and coldly spoke. "I didn't expect the leader of the Black Kill Group to personally come to Osaka and even brought people to our Honchuan family's doorstep. May I ask what your intentions are?" Shin Qingzhu, cigarette in hand, looked at him through the hazy smoke, showing no intention of engaging in conversation. Silence. The cadre furrowed his brow. "What? Is the leader implying that our Honchuan family has offended your Black Kill Group? I apologize, but our Honchuan family has always acted this way. If there has been any offense, then it is not our problem." Shin Qingzhu continued to silently stare at him, the oppressive feeling in his gaze growing stronger. Behind him, Asakura Ken and Inamori Yu quietly drew their weapons. Over 300 members of the Black Kill Group simultaneously pulled out their weapons, nearly a third of which were firearms, and in the silent atmosphere, a chilling murderous intent flickered. The cadre was a bit dazed. Isn't it normal for gangs to shout threats before a fight? Why does this leader look so fierce, as if he has a deep-seated grudge against the Honchuan family? Isn't it just that they came to Osaka and took down a few small gangs? We haven't even made a move against your Black Kill Group. Moreover, where did the Black Kill Group get so many guns? Not only do they outnumber us by double, but they also have so many weapons. If a real fight breaks out, our side would suffer heavy casualties. Leader, we may indeed have made a mistake by coming to your territory without notice, but we have never intended to provoke your Black Kill Group. If there's anything to discuss, we can take our time. I believe there must be some misunderstanding between us." The cadre swallowed hard, cold sweat beginning to bead on his back. Shin Qingzhu pinched the cigarette between his fingers, glanced at him indifferently and casually tossed the cigarette butt to the ground, stepping on it forcefully. "What nonsense is this kid talking? Kurusu. Kill." As Shin Qingzhu's voice fell, the members of the Black Kill Group erupted into action. Those with guns raised them, while those without brandished knives and clubs, charging directly at the Honchuan family members. Gunfire, shouts, and cries of anguish echoed in the dead street as the two groups clashed, instantly turning the scene into chaos. Above the Ghostfire nightclub, Honchuan Shi looked down at the melee below, his brow tightly furrowed. "The Black Kill Group, why did they come over at this time?" he muttered to himself. "Young master, our numbers and equipment are far inferior to the Black Kill Group. If this continues, we will definitely suffer heavy losses." Another cadre from the Honchuan family spoke anxiously beside him. "What should we do?" Honchuan Shi pondered. The people he brought from Tokyo were already few, and the members he recruited from the small gangs after arriving in Osaka were even weaker. Coupled with the disadvantage in weaponry, this group of people could not possibly be a match for the Black Kill Group. However, he actually didn't care. He didn't come all the way from Tokyo to Osaka to fight for territory against the Black Kill Group. His only goal was Yuzuriha Kurotetsu's royal blood and those two cursed blades, the Hachitsukido. The death of these fools below wouldn't matter much. It's just that with fewer people some things would become more troublesome. Is Mr. Inamori capturing Yuzuriha Kurotetsu's daughter? Did he succeed? Han Chuanshi turned to ask. The cadre shook his head. I don't know. A few minutes ago the subordinates Mr. Inamori took to capture her lost contact with us, and we have no news of their progress. These useless fools. Han Chuanshi spoke coldly. Watching the Han Chuan family's personnel rapidly dwindle, completely suppressed by the Black Kill Group, showing an absolute decline, a chilling murderous intent flickered in Han Chuanshi's eyes. He placed his hand on the black rope at his waist. If it weren't for a necessary moment he actually didn't want to use the cursed blade. He himself was a fierce ghost-level prisoner in the eyes of the Oracle. If the power of the cursed blade were to be fully unleashed, it would easily attract the attention of the Pure Land. If they sent an oracle to check the situation his position would become passive. However, clearing out these ordinary people below should only take one strike, and it was highly unlikely to be detected by the Pure Land. Just as he was about to draw his blade, a window on one side of the room suddenly exploded. Han Chuanshi turned sharply, catching a glimpse of a missile with a long flame tail swiftly cutting through the air, heading straight for his face. Han Chuanshi's pupils suddenly contracted. Boom! A deafening explosion erupted from the nightclub, engulfing the surrounding buildings within a radius of nearly 300 meters in flames. Fortunately, the surrounding structures were also under the Han Chuan family's control, sparing innocent residents from harm. The sound of the explosion swept across half of Osaka, leaving all the Han Chuan family and Black Kill Group members fighting on the front lines stunned. The Han Chuan family members turned to look at their stronghold, now reduced to rubble, all frozen in place. What kind of thing exploded with such power? Did a fighter jet fly by? Someone looked up at the sky, but the night sky was eerily silent, with no traces of any aircraft. Kill them! Asakura Ken shouted as he saw the Han Chuan family members in a daze. All the Black Kill Group members roared, their morale soaring. The already advantageous situation instantly turned into a one-sided massacre, as the Han Chuan family's minions completely lost their composure and began to flee in all directions. Flames blazed fiercely and thick smoke billowed into the sky. On a high-rise building hundreds of meters away from the explosion site, two figures dressed in floral kimonos, holding red umbrellas, quietly observed the scene. Amaya Haruhiko couldn't help but turn to look at Lin Chie beside him and the girl, Mumu, who was lying on his back, wearing a ghostly expression. What was that thing? Oh, that's a heavy missile mounted on a fighter jet stored at the military base, Lin Chie replied casually. Its power is a bit greater than I expected. Chapter 649, Rain Collapse and Black Rope. Is he really dead from that power? Yu Gong Qinghui's lips twitched slightly. The Huajin Dao indeed possessed incredible power, but the combat ability of its wielder was not particularly high. If Yu Gong Qinghui were to drop the Rain Collapse and fight Lin Qi, he would definitely lose. With a single punch, Lin Qi could create a massive hole in the concrete floor. It's best if he's dead, if not. Lin Qi glanced at Mumu. The latter let out a hey sound and his figure swelled again, the bandages on him loosening to reveal dozens of missile-like projectiles radiating a chilling silver light, all aimed at the burning nightclub. Just keep bombing until he's dead, Lin Qi said calmly. With such firepower, you could already blow up half of Osaka, Yu Gong Qinghui remarked. No, Lin Qi shook his head. If all the weapons inside him were detonated, I could blow up the entire Osaka. Of course, doing so would harm civilians. When necessary, close combat is still the better solution. Just as Yu Gong Qinghui was about to speak, he suddenly caught something out of the corner of his eye, narrowing his gaze slightly. Amidst the billowing smoke of the nightclub, a massive black blade sliced through the air, standing between the ruins like a gigantic wall. Behind the blade, a disheveled figure struggled to stand up, coughing violently. Han Chuanshi gripped the unsheathed black rope, his face filled with seriousness. The missile that had just appeared nearly cost him his life. If he hadn't been holding the black rope, which projected the blade in front of him, he would have likely lost his combat ability even if he survived. But he couldn't understand, where did that missile come from? Rain poured down, dousing the flames and gradually suppressing the fire. Han Chuanshi, holding the black rope, turned to look in the direction from which the missile had come. Not far away on a rooftop, two figures were holding a red umbrella, quietly watching him. Behind one of them, a cluster of missiles was stacked, ready to launch. Han Chuan-si. It seems he's not so easy to kill, Lin Chiyi said indifferently. Moo moo. Hey. Whoosh. The second missile shot out, racing toward Han Chuan-si in the ruins. The latter's expression froze, and the blade of his weapon flickered with a dark light, the massive blade projection appearing in front of him. The missile had a wide coverage area, and with his speed, it was impossible to escape in an instant, so the best option was to defend rather than evade. Boom. The second explosion echoed, creating a deep pit in the nightclub's ground. The flames, which had been suppressed by the rain, erupted once more, roaring fiercely. Yet Han Chuan-si, behind the blade projection, remained largely unscathed. The black rope has strong defensive capabilities. Even a direct hit from a missile can't shatter that projection, Yu Gongqinghui said, slowly placing his hand on the deep blue long sword at his waist. Next, it's my turn. The long sword was drawn. In an instant, Yu Gongqinghui's figure vanished into the rain. The red umbrella floated down to the ground, splashing a few droplets. Han Chuan-si, hiding behind the blade projection, felt a chill run down his spine. His gaze swept around, and in a droplet of rain falling behind him, he saw Yu Gongqinghui's reflection, a blue blade light slicing through the air, aimed directly at his head. Yu Gongqinghui. Han Chuan-si instantly recognized this signature ability. He quickly raised the black rope in his hand, barely managing to block the strike. The black and blue blades clashed in the air, creating a shower of sparks. Yu Gongqinghui's eyes narrowed slightly, and the torrential rain suddenly froze in midair. Countless raindrops converged behind Yu Gongqinghui like a river, outlining the shape of a water dragon. He used his sword to deflect Han Chuan-si's strike, stepping back half a pace, holding the sword in front of him raised high, and then he slashed out. The water dragon behind him surged out of the rain, charging straight at Han Chuan-si's face. The latter's eyes narrowed and he thrust the black rope forcefully into the ground. In the sky, a massive black blade projection descended, the same one that had severed the Yamasaki Bridge, tearing through the dark sky and heading straight for the water dragon. The two collided with a thunderous crash. Tokyo. Pure Land. Beep 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 beep. The piercing alarm echoed in the room as the yellow-robed oracle suddenly opened his eyes, looking at the virtual screen above him, his brow slightly furrowing. Yuzuan, what happened? Osaka detected a large-scale energy fluctuation, suspected to be two Huajin Dao releasing power simultaneously, energy level analysis in progress. Analysis complete. The release was by Fierce Ghost Level Wanted Criminals Yu Gongqinghui, Fierce Ghost Level Wanted Criminal Han Chuan-si. The yellow-robed oracle frowned slightly. Two Huajin Dao wielders acted simultaneously in Osaka? Were they fighting each other or teaming up against a common enemy? As he pondered this, the electronic voice sounded again. Osaka detected a third Huajin Dao releasing energy level analysis in progress. Analysis complete. The release was by Fierce Ghost Level Wanted Criminal Yuzukuro Tetsu. The yellow-robed oracle's pupils suddenly constricted. Yuzukuro Tetsu. Wasn't he already dead? Yuzuan, are you sure? He frowned, looking at the virtual screen. Cross-referencing the energy wave patterns, confirmed to be Huajin Dao number 6, Misty Eyes. The electronic voice paused before continuing, unable to confirm the wielder's information. Currently there are two possibilities. First, Misty Eyes has found a new master. Second, Yuzukuro Tetsu has come back to life. The yellow-robed oracle frowned and thought for a moment before quickly making a decision. Call in Oracle 4 and Oracle 6. The two of us will head to Osaka and see what's going on. Sending information to Oracle 4 and Oracle 6. Transmission complete. Precision drop pod preparation complete. Launch countdown 1 minute. The yellow-robed oracle turned and swiftly passed through layer upon layer of metal doors, taking the elevator to the lowest level of the Pure Land. After verifying his mechanical eye with his left eye, he walked straight into a cramped silver capsule lying down in the center. The capsule door slowly closed and above him the countdown ticked down. 3, 2, 1. Bang bang bang. At the bottom of the massive flying saucer above Tokyo, 3 silver capsules ejected, tracing 3 arcs in the air, then igniting their rear thrusters, adjusting direction and speeding straight toward Osaka. At this moment the virtual screen in the Pure Land lit up again. Drop pod launched. Pure Land, entering automatic defense mode. Warning. Detected ZZZ. Intrusion ZZZ. A strange electrical noise mixed in, and the virtual screen suddenly displayed the white static of an old television. The electronic voice fell silent for a moment before speaking again. Automatic defense mode disabled. Chapter 650, Black Rope, Blade Soul. The black blade clashed with the water dragon in mid-air, unleashing a violent gale. The power of the 2 Huajin swords was released without reservation, and the torrential rain nearly submerged their figures completely. Clay. Han Chuanxi and Yu Gongqing Hui both retreated simultaneously, moving to the edge of the gradually extinguishing fire scene. Han Chuanxi's brows were tightly furrowed. Just as he was about to take action, a figure in a black and red floral bathrobe appeared like a ghost behind him in the rain. 2 straight swords whistled through the air, slicing toward his neck with astonishing speed. The black rope blocked behind him in a flash, but the force contained in those 2 swords was too strong, sending Han Chuanxi flying backward. He felt as if a speeding truck had collided head-on with him, leaving his arms numb. How could this guy be so strong? Han Chuanxi looked at Lin Qiyi, who was wielding the dual swords, and that thought flashed through his mind. The next moment the ground beneath him exploded and several thick branches burst forth like tentacles, wrapping around his body in the blink of an eye, pinning him like a crucifix in midair. Han Chuanxi's pupils suddenly constricted. What are these things? Branches bursting from the ground, new Huajin swords? Before he could comprehend, a large number of bandages loosened from Lin Qiyi's back, and 2 silvery mounted missiles hovered in midair, aimed directly at Han Chuanxi, who was pinned in the air by the ancient tree demon, their tails spewing blinding flames. Whoosh! The 2 missiles tore through the air, heading straight for Han Chuanxi's face. In an instant, a massive shadow appeared before Han Chuanxi. Boom! The 2 missiles exploded simultaneously, and the searing fireball rapidly expanded in midair, engulfing several buildings beneath it, as if a blazing sun had risen in the dark night of Osaka, with heat waves sweeping through countless skyscrapers. Yu Gongqing Hui blended into the rain, appearing in the distance. If he remained in his original position, the explosion's power would also affect him. He looked up at the sky, his brow slightly furrowed. He saw that the branches that had been entangling Han Chuanxi had been severed. Amidst the roaring flames, a 100-meter-tall black stone statue quietly floated in the air, holding a massive black blade with its arms crossed, the blade standing upright in front of its chest, like a guardian of an ancient secret hidden for 1,000 years. It was this statue that had withstood the direct impact of the 2 missiles for Han Chuanxi. The sword soul of Black Rope. Yu Gongqing Hui murmured to himself. It was the first time he had seen the sword soul of Black Rope. Unlike the sword souls of other Huajin swords he had encountered, this sword soul did not seem like a living being but radiated a terrifying wave of power. Lin Qiyi also gazed at the statue, frowning in thought. The black statue gradually faded into a phantom, and the near-death Han Chuanxi completely lost his will to fight. Just one Yu Gongqing Hui was already giving him a headache, and now there was also Lin Qiyi, who had astonishing combat power and could casually launch missiles and control plants. He simply could not be a match. But he couldn't understand how Yu Gongqing Hui had gotten mixed up with Lin Qiyi. Han Chuanxi forcefully stepped on the edge of the building, agilely leaping into the chaotic gang battlefield. He quickly mounted a motorcycle that had its keys left in, twisting the throttle. Amidst the deafening roar, he sped toward the city center. As long as he reached a crowded area, Lin Qiyi would likely not dare to use missiles, greatly increasing his chances of escaping. Seeing Han Chuanxi attempting to flee on the motorcycle, Yu Gongqing Hui frowned, blending into the rain and quickly pursuing. The motorcycle sped down the street, darting past the vehicles set up as barricades by the Black Kill Group, plunging into the darkness ahead under the dazzling headlights. As Han Chuanxi zipped past Shen Qingzhu, the latter raised an eyebrow slightly. He turned to look, his gaze landing on Han Chuanxi fleeing on the motorcycle, his eyes narrowing. He casually opened the car door beside him, pulled out a sniper rifle from under the seat, loaded a bullet and slowly raised the gun in the rain. Shin Qingzhu spat out the cigarette from his mouth, pressed his eye against the scope and after a moment pulled the trigger. Bang! The bullet flashed with a chilling gleam, bursting forth from the pitch-black muzzle, and in the blink of an eye, it pierced through the misty rain, directly exploding the motorcycle's fuel tank. A fireball erupted at the end of the dark road. After the motorcycle exploded, the terrifying force sent Han Chuanxi flying, the burning flames sweeping over his body, scorching large patches of skin. After rolling twice on the ground, he collapsed awkwardly in the rain. Big Leader is awesome. Big Leader is the best. This shot stunned the other members of the Black Kill group. They were momentarily dazed before erupting into frenzied cheers, their eyes filled with admiration and respect for Shin Qingzhu. What a great shot! Yu Gongqing witnessed this shot firsthand and couldn't help but marvel inwardly. The invader from Disya is indeed different. Taking advantage of Han Chuanxi's severe injury, Yu Gongqing's figure emerged from the rain. Han Chuanxi was about to endure the pain and draw his sword when he was kicked on the wrist, causing the black rope to fly out of his hand. Han Chuanxi winced in pain, struggling to stand up from the ground. The next moment, a figure quietly appeared behind him, a straight sword already pressed against his neck. Lin Qiyi held the sword, the blade mere millimeters from cutting his throat, and calmly spoke. At this distance, even if you summon the sword soul, it won't be in time to save you. Feeling the pain on his neck, Han Chuanxi gritted his teeth. After struggling for a moment, he ultimately gave up resisting. What are your terms? Han Chuanxi said coldly. To give up pursuing the daughter of Yuzu Kurosawa? I can agree to that. The entire Han Chuan family will no longer have any dealings with her. Yu Gongqing and Lin Qiyi exchanged glances, the former asking, "How do you know about the royal blood?" Upon hearing this question, Han Chuanxi was taken aback. He hesitated before saying, "If I tell you, will you let me go?" Yu Gongqing frowned, and before he could respond, Lin Qiyi nodded, "Yes." Han Chuanxi let out a slight sigh of relief. It was a secret letter from the old family head. The previous head of the Han Chuan family, my grandfather, sent me a letter detailing the royal blood of Yuzu Kurosawa and the news of her recent assassination in Osaka, instructing me to mobilize personnel to recover the royal blood and find the whereabouts of his Huijin sword. Your grandfather? Yu Gongqing's frown deepened. Han Chuanjili was a generation of people. If he were still alive, he should be over 100 years old by now. Chapter 651. The Mysterious Letter. That's right, but he is still alive. He just hasn't been involved in family matters for a long time since leaving Tokyo. Amaya Haruki seemed to be deep in thought. The first head of the Hanzawa family, Hanzawa Shurei, was a formidable figure who established the Hanzawa family's position in the underworld. He had retired over 20 years ago, and even if he were still alive, how would he know about Yuzuriha Kurotetsu's affairs? The letter asked you to retrieve Yuzuriha Kurotetsu's royal blood? Lin Chia seemed to have thought of something. Yes, Hanzawa Tsukasa nodded. But by the time I arrived, his body had already been cremated. So, you set your sights on Yuzuriha Kurotetsu's daughter? Not exactly. Hanzawa Tsukasa paused and continued. The letter from my grandfather didn't mention that Yuzuriha Kurotetsu had a daughter. So when I heard that his body had been cremated, I gave up on searching for the royal blood and instead looked for the whereabouts of Yuzuriha Kurotetsu's cursed blade in Osaka. During the investigation into Yuzuriha Kurotetsu, we inadvertently discovered that his wife, Kazumitsuri Akiko, was originally the eldest daughter of the Kazumitsuri family. Later, for some reason, she left the Kazumitsuri family with her daughter and disappeared. I used my informants within the Kazumitsuri family and found out that they had been searching for Yuzuriha Kurotetsu's daughter and had already obtained some leads. Following the clues, I traced her to Yokohama. Since she is Yuzuriha Kurotetsu's daughter, perhaps her royal blood could be of use to me, so I set a trap to lure her to Osaka. Thus, a series of events unfolded. After listening, Lin Chia's confusion deepened. Yuzuriha Nao's mother was actually the eldest daughter of the Kazumitsuri family, one of the two major underworld factions in Kanto? But this didn't seem to be a secret. Since the first head of the Hanzawa family could uncover the secret of Yuzuriha Kurotetsu's royal blood, how could he not know that Yuzuriha Kurotetsu had a daughter? Why was there no mention of Yuzuriha Nao in his letter? I know this much. Hanzawa Tsukasa took a deep breath. Now can I leave? Amaya Haruki glanced at Lin Chia, who released the knife in his hand and nodded calmly. You're free to go. All right. Bang. Just as Lin Chia took a half step back, a buzzing gunshot suddenly echoed in the air. A bullet pierced through the rain and shot directly into Hanzawa Tsukasa's forehead, bursting forth a vivid spray of blood. Hanzawa Tsukasa, who had just regained his freedom, still bore a hint of relief on his face, but the light in his eyes quickly dimmed. He fell backward onto the ground, splashing a large amount of water and completely lost his breath. In the distance, Shin Qingzhu slowly lowered the sniper rifle in his hands, a shell casing clattering to the ground. The surrounding members of the Black Kill group erupted in waves of cheers. Lin Chia looked at Hanzawa Tsukasa, who had lost his breath at his feet, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. I let you go, but someone else won't let you off. Amaya Haruki glanced at Lin Chia's smile, then at Shin Qingzhu, who was holding the sniper rifle in the distance, with a somewhat strange expression. He had originally thought Lin Chia truly intended to let Hanzawa Tsukasa go. Now it seemed he had overthought it. Intruders are never benevolent. What do you think about what he said? Lin Chia asked Amaya Haruki. It doesn't sound like a lie, but I still feel something is off. Amaya Haruki pondered for a moment. Even if he is the first head of the Hanzawa family, he shouldn't know about Yuzuriha Kurotetsu's affairs. Moreover, if he really intended to obtain the royal blood, why didn't he mention Yuzuriha now? Lin Chia thought seriously for a long time. Do you remember what the prophecy said about breaking through the situation? Yeah. Is it possible, Lin Chia slowly spoke, that the letter wasn't written by the head of the Hanzawa family at all? That's true. If it were written by him, many things wouldn't make sense. Amaya Haruki considered. But if it wasn't him, then who could it be? There aren't many who know about the Yuzuriha Kurotetsu incident. Let's be bold. Lin Chia's eyes narrowed slightly. If the prophecy is true and Yuzuriha Kurotetsu isn't dead, then could it be possible that he sent the letter himself? He himself. Why would he actively send a letter to the Hanzawa family? To lure Hanzawa Tsukasa to Osaka? But what does that matter? It doesn't change the fact that he would attack the Pure Land again. Amaya Haruki paused mid-sentence as if realizing something and suddenly froze in place. Of course it matters. Lin Chia glanced at Hanzawa Tsukasa's body on the ground and said slowly, he possesses the black rope, which can conduct large-scale destruction at a specific point. What if he wants to use that cursed blade to cut through the Pure Land? At this, the two turned their heads sharply. On the rain-soaked street, the black long blade that had been kicked to the side had now vanished. Lin Chia's pupils constricted slightly. Just now, his spiritual energy had been monitoring the surroundings, yet he hadn't sensed anything unusual. No one had approached and no objects had come near. That cursed blade that had fallen to the ground seemed to have disappeared into thin air without any warning. He's nearby. Lin Chia suddenly exclaimed. Search. Lin Chia and Amaya Haruki simultaneously sprinted away, disappearing into the rain. Shin Qingzhu, along with the members of the Black Kill group, stood in the rain, momentarily unsure of what had happened. After hesitating for a moment, he waved his hand to the others and everyone immediately returned to their vehicles, heading toward the Black Kill group's building. No one noticed that in the rippling puddle where they had been standing, the figure of a man in a sequined suit flickered in and out of view, as if trapped in another world. At his waist hung an empty golden scabbard, and his hands were completely empty. Opposite him stood a silver-robed oracle, cradling the black rope that had just been kicked away by Amaya Haruki, a slight smirk on his lips, eyes glinting with mockery. It seems you were still a step behind me. This blade ultimately fell into my hands. The silver-robed oracle spoke indifferently. Those young people have already left and didn't notice you were trapped here. No one can save you now. Yuzuriha Kurotetsu. The middle-aged man in the sequined suit frowned at him, a serious expression etched on his face. Oracle number 6, Mirror Disaster. On the other side, Yuzuriha now was carrying a box of glue, tape, cleaning agents and other household tools, following Xiaojin out of the store. After briefly orienting herself, she headed toward the club. It wasn't too late yet and there were quite a few pedestrians on the road, mostly families and friends who had just finished attending the Tenjin festival, chatting and enjoying various snacks, their faces beaming with joy. Xiaojin, do you think Uncle Jingjie can really fix the store? Yuzuriha now asked, her mind heavy as she walked. Xiaojin, walking beside her, paused for a moment before smiling and replying, he can. I wonder where Brother Chia and Brother Haruki went. If they were here they could help a lot, right? Yuzuriha now sighed, and just then, a loud explosion echoed from a distant street, a bright fireball shooting into the sky, illuminating a corner of the dark city. The sudden explosion startled Yuzuriha now and the other pedestrians. Xiaojin looked toward the direction of the explosion, his brow slightly furrowed. Chapter 652, Bewitching Eyes. What exploded? I don't know. It seems to have come from the east. Did a factory catch fire? Maybe. The pedestrians around pointed towards the distant area filled with flames, their eyes full of confusion. Boom. The second explosion sounded, this time more powerful than the first, causing the ground to tremble slightly. Yurina grabbed Koji's hand, staring intently in the direction of the explosion. For some reason she felt a sense of unease in her heart. Oracle. The oracle is coming. At the end of the street several voices rang out, and Koji's expression changed instantly. Yurina turned to look and saw an oracle draped in a red robe slowly walking down the center of the street. The pedestrians on either side, upon seeing him, immediately knelt down, bowing their heads in reverence. Greetings, Oracle. Greetings, Oracle. Wherever he passed no one stood. It was as if a group of terrified ants had fallen to their knees, a tide of bodies pressing against the ground. Koji, it's the oracle. Run. Without a second thought, Koji grabbed Yurina's wrist and headed towards the corner of the street. Though they were still far from the red-robed oracle, their figures stood out against the sea of kneeling pedestrians. The oracle, walking in the center of the road, had a red halo appearing in his left eye, rapidly locking onto the two. Ding! A coin suddenly fell from the sky, hitting the ground with a crisp sound. At the same time, a barely noticeable flicker of enchanting light flashed in Koji's eyes. In the next moment he and Yurina vanished into thin air. The red-robed oracle, having lost his target, frowned slightly. He stomped his foot on the ground and shot across the street like lightning, directly to the spot where the two had just disappeared. His left eye scanned the surroundings with the red halo, yet he found nothing, as if the two he had just seen were merely an illusion. But the red-robed oracle knew very well that those two were definitely not an illusion, for his left eye had clearly recorded the scene. This is Unit 4, suspected sighting of illusionist, accompanied by a little girl whose identity is currently unknown, possibly the daughter of Yuzuri Heki. He spoke into his earpiece to the other two oracles on the channel. Received. The voice of the yellow-robed oracle came through the earpiece. Yuzuri Heki has already been located by Unit 6. You continue searching for the whereabouts of illusionist and that little girl. Leave it to me to find. The red halo in the oracle's left eye gradually faded. He took one last look at the empty surroundings before turning and continuing down the road. Once his figure completely disappeared, the kneeling pedestrians finally stood up shakily, their snacks covered in dust from the ground. They sighed and quickly headed in the direction of their homes. No one noticed that not far from where the red-robed oracle had stood, a blond boy was standing by a wall with a little girl, quietly watching them. Koji, why did it seem like they couldn't see us just now? Yurina waved her hand at the pedestrians who didn't notice their presence and asked in confusion. Koji looked in the direction the red-robed oracle had gone, letting out a slight sigh of relief, but his expression remained extremely serious. It's nothing. Let's hurry back. Baka. Abino Haruka's rooftop. At the top of Japan's tallest building, a figure draped in a yellow robe stood quietly in the wind, gazing down at the chaotic and noisy city below. A yellow halo faintly glowed in his left eye. Wazutsukudo no Roku, illusionist, capable of large-scale hypnosis across species through visual, auditory, olfactory and tactile mediums, even deceiving electronic devices. The only drawback is that it is a non-combat knife. When the hypnotized perceives killing intent, they will automatically break free from the hypnotic state. This knife has appeared. Who is the little girl beside it? Unit 4's reported location is near Kuji Street. I can only search bit by bit. The yellow-robed oracle murmured to himself, and with a flicker of his figure, he leaped from the high building, racing towards the street just passed by the blue-robed oracle. At the same time he closed his eyes as if seriously listening to something. The fireworks festival tonight is so beautiful. I want to come see it with Nozaki-kun again next year. I have to go to work again tomorrow. It's so annoying. That bald, lecherous old boss should just die already. Damn it, why hasn't the president confessed to me yet? We've already reached this point. Is he waiting for me? I won't confess first. Love is war and the one who confesses first loses. What? A new figure of the blue and white bowl is out. Buy it. This guy is so long-winded. He's nowhere near as good-looking as Akiji's Asahi. When should I go drink with him again? He's really so handsome. Hundreds of voices flooded into the yellow-robed oracle's ears, the thoughts of everyone within a 2-kilometer radius of where he passed. The yellow-robed oracle carefully distinguished each voice, directly filtering out the useless content. Gradually, the voices echoing in his ears became fewer, until finally one voice flashed through his mind. I just saw the oracle. Why did Koji run? Does he also have special powers like Shikia? Is he from outside? It was a girl's voice, sounding very youthful. The yellow-robed oracle's eyes lit up, and he sped towards the direction from which the voice came. I found you. Dotonbori. Koji led Yurina back to the entrance of the Akiji club. Yurina, holding a cardboard box, walked into the club, looking around but not seeing Uncle Kayasuke, feeling a bit puzzled. Where's Uncle Kayasuke? Koji's body trembled slightly. After a moment of silence he smiled and said, He'll be back soon, let's rest here for a bit. Koji stepped into the club, a flicker of enchanting light flashing in his eyes again. The street light at the entrance of the Akiji club dimmed slightly before quickly returning to normal, as if nothing had happened. All the doors and windows of the club were shattered, and the tables and chairs were in disarray. Yurina could only choose a small stool to sit on, quietly waiting for Uncle Kayasuke to return. Koji walked to the large window on the second floor, carefully observing the surroundings. A few minutes later, the yellow-robed oracle stood at the entrance of this small alley. Is it around here? He stepped into the alley where there weren't many shops. The entrance was a closed barbecue stall, and inside was an izakaya. Further in, the yellow-robed oracle passed under the streetlight, the pale yellow light flickering in his eyes. He stood at the end of the alley looking up at the last shop. Nothing? The yellow-robed oracle was taken aback. The last shop in this alley was empty. The street ended at the izakaya, and beyond that was just a desolate open space with nothing present. Just as he was about to turn and leave, a voice suddenly echoed in his heart. Chapter 653. Kurus. The sword master is trapped in the mirror world. If he engages in battle with the oracle he will undoubtedly be at a disadvantage. At the moment these words were spoken, the yellow-robed oracle stopped in his tracks and turned back to look at the empty wasteland, his eyes narrowing slightly. Standing by the window, the anxious little Jin's expression changed. So when I first stepped onto this path, you used the lights to hypnotize me. The yellow-robed oracle glanced at the streetlight above, a look of realization appearing in his eyes as he coldly laughed. Unfortunately, you can confuse my senses, but you cannot confuse my spiritual perception. With that, the yellow-robed oracle stepped forward, and a faint yellow glow appeared around his right fist as he struck heavily at the empty wasteland before him. Boom! On the dark street, dozens of cars were speeding along. Shin Qingzhu sat in the lead car, quietly watching the falling rain outside, seemingly lost in thought. Beside him, the graying Akasaka Ken couldn't help but glance at Shin Qingzhu through the rearview mirror, his eyes filled with admiration and respect. After years in the underworld he had never seen such a decisive leader. He personally led a team from Kyoto to Osaka, restricting them to 2 days to investigate the Honchuan family's arrangements. After obtaining the layout he struck decisively and even participated in the battle, killing the legendary young master of the Honchuan family with 2 shots. With the young master dead, the Honchuan family in Tokyo was essentially crippled, and the current patriarch was gravely ill, unable to stir up any trouble. Next, their Black Kill group would advance into Kanto, and it would surely be a smooth ride. In just a year he had led the Black Kill group from being a local power in Osaka to a formidable force capable of intimidating all of Japan. The man sitting beside him was a legend in the underworld. Shin Qingzhu noticed Akasaka Ken's gaze but chose to ignore it. He was frantically reviewing the Japanese that Lin Chia had taught him in his mind, fearing he would forget it soon. Screech. The sharp sound of brakes echoed, and under the force of inertia, everyone in the car lurched forward. Haka Ken, nearly colliding with the front seat, cursed loudly, "Damn it! How do you drive? Can't you be a little steadier?" The driver, swallowing hard, pointed ahead with a trembling hand and stammered, But the Oracle is up ahead." Saka Ken froze, turning to look ahead. He saw that the previously clear traffic had come to a complete standstill. Cars were halted in the middle of the road, and all the drivers and passengers had exited their vehicles, kneeling beside them to respectfully welcome the man in red robes approaching from the other side of the road. Not just their car but all the vehicles of the Black Kill Group were stuck here, blocking the road completely. "Oh Oracle." The moment he saw the man in red robes, Akasaka Ken's furious expression vanished, replaced by unprecedented fear. He grabbed the intercom and shouted, "Get out! Everyone get out! Welcome the Oracle!" In fact, he didn't even need to shout. The vast majority of the Black Kill Group members had already quickly exited their cars, kneeling respectfully on the ground in the direction of the approaching man in red. Haka Ken, drenched in rain, opened the car door and stepped out, his gaze filled with trepidation as he looked at the red-robed Oracle. This veteran who had dominated Osaka's underworld for decades, a senior member of the Black Kill Group, showed no hesitation as he knelt before the Oracle. His forehead pressed tightly against the ground. Just moments ago they had defeated the Hanchuan family, killed Hanchuan Shi, and were planning to dominate the entire Japanese underworld. Now they knelt on the ground in reverence, devoid of any hostility or arrogance. At this moment they were no longer fierce tigers but a group of docile sheep. Simply because the person they were bowing to represented the divine. They were indeed part of the underworld and they did represent evil, but they were also worshippers of the divine, albeit not of the gentle gods like the god of fortune. The red-robed oracle's gaze lightly swept over these people, his eyes showing no emotional fluctuations. To him these kneeling gangsters were no different from ordinary passers-by. As long as they were not at the level of vicious ghosts, they would not significantly impact the order of this world. The matters of ants should be left to the ants themselves to handle. The red-robed oracle's gaze scanned the surroundings and locked onto a particular car, his brow slightly furrowing. At that moment Akasaka Ken finally realized something. He glanced around with his peripheral vision and after a moment of confusion, a look of disbelief and shock appeared in his eyes. "Where is the group leader?" Creak creak. Rain poured down on the car windows, but it was quickly swept away by the rapidly moving windshield wipers. Behind the misty windshield, Shin Qingzhu sat alone in the car, observing the members of the Black Kill Group kneeling on the ground, his brow slightly furrowing. He opened the car door and slowly stepped out. His black leather shoes splashed into the puddle beside the car, creating ripples. Shin Qingzhu, draped in the flowing cloud haori that symbolized the group leader's status, stood quietly in the rain, gazing at the man in red robes whom everyone was bowing to. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Group leader. Hurry and kneel. That person is the Oracle." Osaka Ken knelt beside Shin Qingzhu and whispered urgently. Shin Qingzhu stood there, seemingly ignoring Akasaka Ken's reminder. In the silent street, only Shin Qingzhu in his flowing cloud haori and the red-robed Oracle faced each other. "Why aren't you kneeling?" The red-robed Oracle stared at Shin Qingzhu and spoke. Shin Qingzhu looked at him coldly, showing no intention of responding, his narrowed eyes filled with sharpness. The red-robed Oracle frowned slightly, a red halo appearing from his left eye, instantly locking onto Shin Qingzhu standing in the rain, as if trying to discern his identity. Facial recognition in progress. Retrieving identity code. Retrieval failed, no such person found. An electronic voice echoed in the red-robed Oracle's mind. He paused slightly as if realizing something, a look of surprise appearing on his face. "You are an intruder?" The inability to find his information in the Pure Land meant that the other party was not Japanese. Coupled with the intruder's tradition of not kneeling before the Oracle, the red-robed Oracle instantly guessed Shin Qingzhu's identity. Shin Qingzhu still did not respond. He shifted his gaze away from the red-robed Oracle and looked at the other Black Kill Group members, who were kneeling respectfully like ants on the ground. His expression darkened and a hint of anger flickered in his eyes. In the rain. He looked at the oracle, slowly raised his hand and lightly drew his thumb across his neck, making a cold gesture of cutting his throat. Kuruz. Kill.